Forget everything you have ever been told about an aging bladder. If you find yourself rushing to the bathroom in the middle of the night, the problem in most cases has absolutely nothing to do with the bladder itself. Today, I am going to show you the hidden mechanism that wakes you up night after night, and I am going to teach you how to switch it off in just 5 minutes before bedtime. Picture this. It is 3 in the morning. The apartment is completely silent. You are lying under a warm blanket, comfortable and at ease. You have only just drifted into that sweet, deep sleep, the kind that feels like a reward after a long day. And then a signal starts. At first it is faint, hovering somewhere at the edge of your consciousness, but with every passing minute it grows more insistent. Your bladder is demanding attention. You try to ignore it. You roll over to the other side. You try to think of something pleasant, but the pressure only mounts. And so, cursing everything in existence, you throw back the blanket, swing your legs down onto the cold floor, and shuffle through the darkness to the bathroom like a zombie. You squint against the harsh light, take care of business, and return to bed, only to find that sleep has abandoned you entirely. Thoughts begin to spin through your head. Work, loans, the children's problems. You toss and turn for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. You have barely fallen asleep again when the alarm clock rings. Or worse, the urge returns. A second time in one night. You rise in the morning feeling shattered, your head heavy, and spend the entire day drinking coffee just to function. Does this sound familiar? I see it in the eyes of hundreds of patients who come to my clinic. I am Dr.Deepins, and today we are going to tackle a problem that is literally stealing your life. Because quality sleep is life itself. Do you know what the most frightening part of this situation is? It is not the trip to the bathroom itself. It is not even the fact that you are sleep deprived. The most frightening thing is the phrase you say to yourself or hear from acquaintances. Well, what did you expect? You're getting older. Everyone has this problem. Let us set the record straight immediately. That is a lie. It is a dangerous illusion. Waking up to use the bathroom at night is not normal. Not at 40, not at 50, not at 70. A healthy body is designed so that at night it enters a kind of energy-saving mode. Your brain produces a special hormone called the antidiuretic hormone. This hormone gives the kidneys a command. Stop. The factory is closed for inventory. Concentrate the urine. Reduce the volume. This mechanism is what allows you to sleep peacefully for 7 or 8 hours without interruption. If this mechanism is broken, if you wake up even once, that is already a warning signal. If you wake up twice or more, it is an alarm bell. In medicine, this condition is called nocturia, and it is not merely an inconvenience. It is a condition that wears down your heart and blood vessels faster than smoking does. Think about it. Every time you get up, your pulse spikes, your blood pressure shifts, and you interrupt the deep sleep phase during which the brain's neurons regenerate and toxins are cleared away. If you have been sleeping without interruption for years, you are quite literally inviting hypertension, depression, and accelerated brain aging into your home. I frequently see men who are convinced, "Doctor, it is the prostate. I know it." I see women who say, "It must be menopause or a prolapse or a chronic UTI." They have spent years drinking diuretic herbal teas during the day, taking antibiotics, buying various advertised supplements for men's health. They restrict themselves so severely on fluids that by evening their mouths feel parched. They stop drinking tea after 6 in the evening. They go to bed tormented by thirst, and they still wake up at 3 in the morning. Why does this happen? Why do you do everything right, and yet your body continues to wake you up? Because you are fighting the symptom, not the cause. You are looking at the bladder, thinking the problem is there, somewhere in the lower abdomen, that it has become small, weak, or irritated. And sometimes, yes, the bladder is genuinely involved. But my clinical experience points to something quite different. Listen carefully to what I am about to say, because it may completely overturn your understanding of treatment. In 80% of cases, your bladder is simply the victim. It is perfectly healthy. It is just doing its job, evacuating what has been delivered to it. The problem is not in the reservoir. The problem lies in who is filling it at night, and why they are doing so at such a furious rate. Many people think, "I simply drank 1 too many cups of tea, or I got my feet cold." But if you stop drinking water in the evening and the urges persist, it means the fluid is not coming from your stomach. Where is it coming from then? The body is a closed system. If the kidneys begin working like emergency pumps at night, It means they have received an order, and that order often originates from your heart or from your legs. Yes, you heard correctly. If you try to treat the bladder with tablets for frequent urination when the real problem lies in hidden edema or cardiac insufficiency, you will not merely waste time. You may miss the window in which it is still possible to prevent a heart attack or stroke. But do not be frightened just yet. Our task today is to work through this calmly, step by step, as engineers would dismantle a complex mechanism. To understand how to fix it, we must first determine which specific malfunction has occurred in your system. There are several types of nocturnal problems, and they are treated in entirely different ways. What helps one person will cause definite harm to another. How do you determine which type applies to you? It is simpler than it seems. You do not need an MRI or complex test right now. It is enough to answer a couple of questions about exactly how this happens for you. Are you ready to assess yourself? Understanding the 3 types of nocturia before we rush to treat anything, we need to understand what is actually broken down. In medicine, as in car repair, if the engine is knocking, it is pointless to change the wheels. To spare you from guessing in the dark, I am going to give you a simple map. In urology, we divide nocturnal problems into 3 major groups. They are fundamentally different, and their treatments differ accordingly. As I explain each one, try fitting the descriptions to your own situation. The key question you must ask yourself is this: what exactly is the problem? Do I produce too much urine at night, or has my bladder simply become too small to hold what is there? The first type is what we call global polyuria. This is the situation where you rush to the bathroom frequently, both during the day and at night, and each time the volume is substantial. If you were to collect your urine over 24 hours using a standard test, you would find 3 to 4 liters. This usually occurs for one of 2 reasons. Either you simply drink a great deal of fluid. Some people habitually carry water bottles everywhere, drink tea by the liter, believing it to be healthy, or it is a sign of diabetes, whether the sugar-driven variety where glucose draws water along with it, or the rarer form involving a hormonal malfunction in the brain. How do you recognize this type? Your urine is typically pale, almost colorless, and nearly odorless, and you visit the bathroom just as frequently during the day as at night. This type has a clear path. See an endocrinologist and have your blood sugar checked. Now pay close attention, because the second type is the most insidious of all. We call it nocturnal polyuria. This pattern appears in 60 to 70% of older patients. The picture looks like this. During the day, you live a completely normal life. You go shopping, you work, you go for walks. You use the bathroom once every 4 or 5 hours in normal volumes, with no pain, no burning. But the moment you lie down in bed, the nightmare begins. You get up 3, 4, 5 times, and each time you produce a large quantity of urine, a full bladder. In the morning, you look at what came out overnight and think, but I only drank half a glass of kefir this evening. How is there 1.5 liters of fluid coming out of me? This is classic nocturnal polyuria. Your body has switched its filtration schedule to nighttime hours. During the day, the kidneys are resting or working at half capacity. At night, they switch on to 200%. Why this happens is the central secret we are about to reveal. If this description matches your experience, know this: your problem almost certainly has nothing to do with your bladder, and treating it is pointless. The third type is the reservoir problem. Here the situation is quite different. You wake at night frequently, urgently. The urge is so powerful it feels as though you will not make it in time. You leap up, hurry to the bathroom, sit down, and produce almost nothing. Free drops. You return to bed, and 40 minutes later the same wild urgency strikes again, with the same result. Here the problem is genuinely in the tank itself. The bladder has lost its ability to expand, or has become hypersensitive. This occurs with prostate adenoma in men, where the enlarged tissue presses on the channel and irritates the bladder neck. It occurs with overactive bladder in women, with cystitis, or with a kidney stone lodged in the lower third of the ureter. Your fill sensor is broken. It screams emergency. We are overflowing when there is only 50 milliliters in the tank. These are 3 fundamentally different problems, and they demand fundamentally different solutions. Before we move forward, I have an obligation as a physician to tell you about red flags, symptoms that should prompt you not to watch online videos and drink herbal remedies, but to stop everything and make an appointment with a doctor immediately. The first red flag is blood in the urine, especially if there is no pain. A painful, bloody episode is most likely a kidney stone or acute cystitis, frightening, but rarely life-threatening. But if you notice discolored, reddish urine with no pain whatsoever, or you see a blood clot, that is among the most alarming signs of bladder cancer. In men and women over 50, this warrants an immediate cystoscopy. The second red flag is bone pain combined with sharp, unexplained weight loss. If nocturnal bathroom trips are accompanied by deep aching in the pelvis or lower back, and you have lost 5 to 10 kilograms in a couple of months without dieting, that is a serious warning sign. The third is acute urinary retention. You feel the urge, you strain, your abdomen aches, but nothing comes out. That requires emergency care and catheterization. If none of these frightening scenarios apply to you, then take a breath. You are going to be fine, but the quality of your life needs to be rescued. I want to turn your attention now to those of you who recognized yourselves in the second type, the one where everything is fine during the day, but an inexplicable flood of fluid occurs at night. Why am I so focused on this type? Because it is the most deceptive malfunction the body can produce. Patients with this type spend years visiting urologists. They are prescribed medications to relax the prostate or the bladder, which they take for months with zero effect, or things actually get worse. Leg swelling develops, blood pressure drops. The patient concludes the doctor is incompetent or the medication is counterfeit. In reality, the body is crying out for help in a completely different language. I once had a patient I will call Anatoly. He was 54 years old, a sturdy man, not given to complaining. He arrived at my office with a thick folder of test results, prostate workups, bladder ultrasound, a collection of prescriptions. He was convinced he simply had age-related changes or chronic prostatitis. But when he described his pattern of nocturnal bathroom trips, a chill ran down my spine. Anatoly worked as an engineer, led a sedentary life, but tried to get out to his dacha at weekends. A typical man who only went to the doctor when things became truly unbearable. His problem had started classically, getting up once a night, which he ignored, then twice, then 3 times. In the last 6 months, he had been getting up 4 or 5 times per night. Imagine that torture. You were just slipping into sleep when you were yanked back out. Being the methodical person he was, Anatoly had begun following the logic that the internet and television advertising dictate. The bladder is the problem, so the prostate must be the culprit. He went to a pharmacy, bought well-advertised supplements and suppositories, started drinking herbal preparations. He also imposed a strict liquid fast. After 6 in the evening, not a drop of water, tea, soup, or even a slice of apple. He sat before me with red eyes from sleeplessness, a puffy face, and a nervous twitch. "Doctor," he said, "I have not drunk anything since 6 in the evening. My mouth feels like sandpaper. I go to bed with desperate thirst. But at 2 in the morning I get up and half a liter comes out. At 4 in the morning, another half liter. Where is it coming from? I haven't drunk anything. I think my kidneys are failing, or there is a tumor pressing on the bladder." I reviewed his tests. His PSA, the prostate cancer marker, was normal. His prostate ultrasound showed minor changes, first-degree adenoma, but nothing that could explain this picture. His bladder was clean, no stones. From a purely urological standpoint, he was almost healthy, and yet the man was not sleeping and was suffering. I began asking him not about how he urinated, but about how he lived. "Anatoly, how do you feel during the day? Any shortness of breath?" He looked surprised. "Well, a little. When I climb to the 3rd floor, I have to stop and catch my breath. But I smoked for 20 years and only quit a year ago. And I am getting older. Does your ring feel tight on your finger by evening? Do your sock elastic bands leave marks on your skin?" "They do," he said. "When I take off my socks, there is a definite groove pressed into the skin. But surely everyone gets that by evening." At that moment, the puzzle assembled itself in my mind. I told him something that shocked him. "Anatoly, throw away those prostatitis tablets. You do not need a urologist. I am referring you to a cardiologist and a somnologist." He stared at me as if I had lost my mind. "Doctor, what does my heart have to do with it?" I'm running to the bathroom, not clutching my chest. But he listened. And do you know what was discovered? The cardiologist found early-stage, hidden cardiac insufficiency. During the day, Anatoly's heart was operating at its limit, struggling to pump blood effectively, and some fluid was pooling in his tissues. The somnologist, a specialist in sleep disorders, discovered that he had apnea, brief episodes of stopped breathing during sleep, when a person snores, falls silent, and then gasps back to life with a strangled snore. Here is the mechanism that explains everything, and it is breathtaking in its elegance and cruelty. Imagine an ordinary plastic water bottle, half full, when you are standing or sitting, which accounts for 16 hours of waking life. The law of gravity operates without mercy. It pulls everything downward: blood, lymph, intercellular fluid. All of it strives toward the earth, toward your feet and calves. In youth, our vessels function like supple rubber hoses, and venous valves act as reliable gates. The heart pumps, the muscles contract when you walk and push the blood upward against gravity. But with age, or if we lead sedentary lives, this mechanism weakens. Veins stretch, valves begin to leak. The muscular pump is switched off because we sit in an office or in front of the television. What happens then? Fluid begins to seep through the vessel walls into the soft tissues, into that sponge I mentioned. You may not even notice it. The shoe feels slightly tighter toward evening. The sock elastic leaves a slight groove. But in the loose connective tissue of your legs, up to 1.5 liters of water can be hiding. 1.5 liters, that is 3 large mugs of tea. This water parks itself in your legs for the entire day. The kidneys do not see it, because it has been removed from the bloodstream. The kidneys filter only what is circulating in the blood, and what is in your legs has become a stagnant reservoir. Now the most interesting part begins. Night falls. You go to the bedroom, lie down, and assume a horizontal position. What happens from a physics standpoint? Your legs are now level with your kidneys and heart. Gravity no longer holds the water in your lower limbs, and all that fluid, which has been accumulating for 12 hours, begins rushing back into the vascular channel. It is absorbed back into the veins and surges in a powerful stream toward the center of the body. The volume of circulating blood in your system suddenly increases sharply. Imagine that someone has injected an extra liter of saline into your circulatory system in the space of an hour. And this is where the chief conductor of this nocturnal concert steps onto the stage: your heart and its small but mighty assistant, a hormone with the beautiful name of atrial natriuretic peptide. When the torrent of fluid from the legs reaches the heart, the right atrium begins to stretch. It is overloaded, and the heart understands that the system is under dangerous strain. So it releases this hormone into the blood. The chemical telegram to the kidneys reads, in essence, urgent, dump ballast. Flush out water or I will stop. This hormone blocks another hormone that would normally retain urine, aldosterone, and the kidneys shift into emergency mode. They filter blood at a furious rate, expelling water and sodium to protect the heart from overload. The result: an hour after you lie down, the bladder is full. You get up, empty it, return to bed. But the fluid from your legs is not yet fully expelled. The process continues. 2 hours later, the bladder is full again. And this is why Anatoly, who had not drunk a drop of water since 6 in the evening, was making 5 trips to the bathroom every night. He was drinking through his own legs. How to test yourself? 2 simple checks I promised you, a test you can do without any special equipment. Here are 2 simple checks. The first is the hidden water search. Sit down comfortably and expose your shin, the part of the leg from the knee to the foot. Find the large shin bone, the tibia, running along the front of your leg, not covered by muscle. Press the pad of your thumb firmly against this bone, about 10 to 15 centimeters above the ankle bone. Press and hold for 10 to 15 seconds with meaningful pressure. Then remove your finger and feel the spot with the pad of another finger. What do you feel? If the skin sprang back immediately and feels smooth, there are no significant swellings. But if your finger sank into a depression that does not disappear for several seconds, if you can see a clear, sunken imprint, congratulations. You have just found a hidden reservoir of water. Even if your leg does not look swollen to the naked eye, that dimple is proof that your tissues are saturated with fluid. At night, that fluid will migrate to your kidneys. The second test is a simplified urine diary. Choose one day off and dedicate it to measurements. Use any graduated container and record the volume of urine produced during the day. Then record the volume produced at night, including your first morning void immediately upon waking. Add the figures together. If the volume of nocturnal urine exceeds 33%, more than 1/3 of your daily total that is officially classified as nocturnal polyuria. For example, if your daily total is 1,500 milliliters and you produced 500 milliliters or more during the night, that is your diagnosis. It means your kidneys have confused day with night due to edema or a hormonal imbalance. If both tests are positive, the dimple remains and you produce large volumes of pale urine at night, then you can breathe a sigh of relief about your bladder. It is most likely perfectly healthy. You do not need prostate surgery or bladder procedures. What you need is to work on your blood vessels and your daily routine. Friends and enemies. What you eat for dinner is waking you up. Now that we have dealt with gravity and the mechanics of fluid redistribution, we must address a second force that can undermine all your efforts, the chemistry of your blood. You can spend the entire evening with your legs elevated, but if you consumed a biochemical time bomb at dinner, your kidneys will still drag you out of bed in the small hours. Let us start with the hidden enemies. When I ask patients what they eat in the evenings, they often say, "Doctor, I am on a diet. Nothing salty. I haven't touched pickles in a year." And then it emerges that dinner was a cheese sandwich with a slice of processed sausage or sausages with buckwheat. Write this down in large letters: hidden salt. We tend to think of salt as what comes out of the salt shaker, but 80% of the salt we consume comes from processed foods. Cheese, salami, sausages, mayonnaise, tinned goods, bread. 100 grams of ordinary cheese contains as much salt as an entire packet of crisps. Here is how this works at night. You ate a cheese sandwich at 7 in the evening. Salt entered the bloodstream. The body cried out, "Too salty. We need to dilute this," and began retaining every drop of water it could find. You did not run to the bathroom during the evening because the salt was holding water in the vessels and tissues. But when the night arrived, the kidneys began their filtration. They detected the salt and started actively expelling it. And salt acts like a magnet, pulling water with it. To excrete 1 gram of excess salt, the kidneys must process a significant volume of fluid. The outcome: you wake up not because you are thirsty, but because you are excreting yesterday's cheese. The second enemy is even more cunning: evening sugar. A cup of tea with biscuits, or a piece of fruit, a slice of watermelon before bed. Seemingly innocent choices, vitamins even. Look at what happens at the biochemical level. You consumed fast carbohydrates, sugar, fruit, pastries. Your blood glucose spiked sharply. The pancreas released insulin. Insulin, among its many other functions, causes the kidneys to retain sodium and water. First comes retention, and then, 2 to 3 hours later, precisely when you have fallen asleep, glucose levels drop sharply and the rebound begins. The kidneys switch into a fluid dumping mode. Furthermore, if you have any latent predisposition to diabetes or insulin resistance, high blood sugar works like an osmotic diuretic. Sugar itself draws water out of cells and into the urine. You receive the effect of a diuretic tablet simply by eating a bunch of grapes at bedtime. The third false friend is alcohol. Many men tell me, "Doctor, I have a small glass of cognac or a beer in the evening to sleep more soundly. It knocks me out and I don't hear the urge to go." This is the greatest self-deception. Alcohol does indeed help you fall asleep faster. It acts as a sedative. But it is simultaneously one of the most potent blockers of the antidiuretic hormone vasopressin. Remember how I said that at night the brain gives the kidneys the command to concentrate urine? Alcohol cancels that command. The brain is intoxicated and forgets to tell the kidneys to slow down. As a result, the kidneys work at full capacity. You may sleep through the first urge under alcohol's influence, but the bladder will fill to such a degree that the second urge will be painful. And the quality of your sleep will be terrible, no deep restorative phases. You will wake feeling broken, with a full bladder. Now let us talk about the good news, the protective foods. What should you add to your diet to help calm the bladder? My top recommendation is raw pumpkin seeds. Please hear me correctly. Not roasted, not salted, not coated in white glaze. Raw green seeds. These are nature's gold for urological health. They contain 2 things. First, zinc and magnesium in bioavailable form. Magnesium relieves spasms from muscles, including the detrusor, the bladder muscle, helping it relax and accommodate more before it signals urgency. Second, phytosterols, substances that strengthen the pelvic floor, supporting the prostate in men and helping with prolapse issues in women. A handful, about 30 grams, of raw seeds every day is the finest preventative measure available. The second protective food is cranberry. And again, I must specify, not the juice from a carton. Store-bought cranberry juice contains more sugar than soda water, making it one of our enemies from the previous list. What we need is the actual berry, frozen or fresh, or a pharmaceutical-grade cranberry extract. Cranberries contain proanthocyanidins, compounds that prevent bacteria from adhering to the bladder wall. Even if you do not have acute cystitis, many people harbor a low-grade flora in the bladder as they age, which constantly irritates the nerve endings. The bladder becomes hypersensitive. A tiny amount of urine appears, and it already shouts, "Release me." Cranberry acids soothe the mucous membrane and reduce that irritation. Add a small handful of berries to your tea or porridge without sugar. The third component is proper dietary fiber. The connection here is mechanical. If you suffer from constipation, a bloated intestine presses on the bladder. They share a confined space in the pelvis, and the intestine becomes a bully neighbor, constantly shoving your bladder. Vegetables, cabbage, greens, zucchini regulate bowel function. An empty intestine at bedtime gives the bladder additional room to expand during the night, allowing it to fill gradually without triggering premature urge signals. Anatoly made only these dietary changes. He replaced his dinner of sausage and cheese with a vegetable salad and chicken, and removed his evening tea with biscuits. This single adjustment eliminated one nocturnal bathroom visit. Progress, but not yet victory. Why? Because food addresses the biochemistry, the foundation. But if your venous valves are not working and your vessels have lost their tone, diet alone cannot overcome the physics of fluid redistribution. To fully resolve the problem of nighttime awakenings, we need to bring in the heavy artillery. Not medication, physical intervention. I promise to show you what I do myself every evening, and what became the final step in Anatoly's recovery. It is a simple 3-part protocol that takes exactly 5 minutes. The 3-part protocol: morning, afternoon, and evening. Patients frequently ask me in the clinic, "Ruslan, you are a doctor. You know all this. What do you actually do yourself? Surely you don't behave like a robot and never drink tea in the evening." I am an ordinary human being. I am over 40 and I get tired. I enjoy a cup of herbal tea before bed, but I sleep through the night. Why? Because I have learned to negotiate with my own body. I use biomechanics to preempt the processes that try to break my sleep as I age. I have developed what we informally call in our clinic the Golden Protocol. It is not a diet or a course of tablets. It is the calibration of your valves and pumps. This protocol saved Anatoly. When he implemented these simple actions, he stopped being a water sponge. Are you ready? Get a pen. The protocol has 3 parts: morning, daytime, and evening. Part 1, morning, starting the pump. Everything begins not in the evening, but the moment you open your eyes. When you rise from bed, do not head straight to the kitchen. Stop. After a night of sleep, the lymph in your body is thick and sluggish. It has been stagnant and needs to be set in motion so that by evening your legs are prepared to handle the fluid load of the day. I use the exercise devised by academician Mikulin, vibrational gymnastics. Stand upright, feet shoulder-width apart. Rise up on your toes just 1 to 2 centimeters, not high, and then let yourself drop sharply back down, striking your heels against the floor with a light impact. You should feel a gentle vibration traveling from your calves upward through your thighs and into your abdomen. Do this 30 times, approximately 1 impact per second. What does this accomplish? Our veins contain valves. With age and prolonged inactivity, these valves can become sluggish. This vibration shakes them awake, encouraging blood to rise more actively upward. It is the single best preventative measure against evening leg swelling. If jumping is difficult, if your knees ache, there is a lazy person's version. While still lying in bed, raise both arms and legs into the air and shake them gently, like an upturned beetle wriggling its legs. Ridiculous, perhaps, but it activates the lymphatic drainage system in 60 seconds. Part 2. Daytime, the waterfall schedule. The rule here is simple and non-negotiable. Imagine a graph of your daily fluid intake. For most people, it looks like a mountain whose summit falls at dinner time. They come home from work and drink 3 cups of tea. You need to slide that mountain to the left. 70% of all your daily fluid should be consumed before 4 in the afternoon. A glass of water in the morning, a bottle of water at work, tea and soup at lunch. After 4 o'clock, we turn the tap down. We do not stop drinking entirely. Thirst is harmful and thickens the blood, but we drink in small sips, merely moistening the mouth. And of course, we apply the salt control we discussed. Remove the salt shaker from the table, season food in the pot during cooking. That is sufficient. Part 3. Evening, the master move. This is what you have been waiting for. The secret weapon. Most people make a critical mistake. They sit all evening accumulating water in their legs, then lie down to sleep and force the kidneys to work during the night. We are going to outmaneuver that process. We are going to make the kidneys do their work before you fall asleep. 1 to 1.5 hours before bed. While you are watching a series, reading a book, or scrolling through news, you must perform what I call the lazy birch tree pose. How is it done? Lie down on the sofa or the floor. Place your legs up on the arm of the sofa, on the headboard of the bed, or against the wall. The key requirement is that your heels must be above the level of your heart. The angle should be approximately 45 degrees. Do not raise your legs vertically. That strains the neck. Simply elevate them. Lie in this position for 15 to 20 minutes. What happens during this time? Physics, once again. Gravity begins to draw fluid back from your calves, from that very sponge, and back into the bloodstream. Blood flows toward the kidneys. The heart sends the signal. Drain the water. The kidneys begin their filtration. The bladder fills, but you are still awake, still conscious. 30 to 40 minutes after this exercise, you will feel the urge to use the bathroom. You will go, and you will expel that same 300 to 400 milliliters that would otherwise have woken you at 3 in the morning. You are wringing out your legs in advance. If you have significant swelling, I also recommend compression hosiery, but not to sleep in. Put on first-grade compression knee socks in the evening when you arrive home from work and wear them until your pre-sleep shower. They simply prevent fluid from accumulating where it should not. The final touch is strengthening the valve. When you have already lain down, switched off the light, and closed your eyes, perform 20 to 30 repetitions of Kegel exercises. But 90% of people do these incorrectly. They clench their buttocks, their abdomen, their thighs. That achieves nothing. How to do it correctly. Imagine you are trying to prevent the passage of gas, or imagine you are drawing the perineum inward and upward, like a lift rising from the first floor to the 5th. The abdomen should remain soft, the buttocks relaxed. Only the pelvic floor is working. Tighten, hold for 3 seconds, release. This exercise sends a signal to the brain via nerve endings. Muscles are toned, the sphincter holds, sleep is undisturbed. It reduces the neurogenic hyperactivity of the bladder, so it stops panicking at every tiny drop of urine. That is the complete protocol. In the morning, heel strikes. During the day, drink the majority of fluids before 4 o'clock. In the evening, legs on the wall for 15 minutes, then a bathroom visit, then lie down and perform the internal lift exercise. Anatoly began doing this skeptically. "Doctor, what kind of circus is this?" Legs on the wall. After 1 week, he came back and said, "I woke up once, near morning. Not 5 times, once." Another month later, he was sleeping through the entire night. His kidneys had stopped working the night shift because he was giving them their work in the evening instead. The choice is yours, friends. We have covered a great deal of ground together today. We began with you lying awake at 3 in the morning, and we have arrived at a concrete action protocol. We have worked through the mechanics, the chemistry, and the physics of your body. You now have a choice. You can close this text, say, "Yes, the doctor makes some good points." Make yourself a large cup of tea with a sandwich and go to bed with your legs hanging down. And tonight your internal alarm will fire again. You will fail to get enough sleep, and tomorrow will begin with fatigue. Or you can try doing things differently. I want you to hold on to one simple but fundamental idea that should become your guiding principle. At night we should sleep, not act as a filter. Your body is a brilliant factory, but even the finest factory needs a shift change. Night is the time when your brain clears itself of toxins through the glymphatic system. It is the time when your heart should rest, slowing its rhythm. It is the time when your muscles and joints recover from the day. If you force that factory to run a night shift, filtering liters of blood, pumping fluid through its pipes, waking the manager every 2 hours, the factory wears out. Trust my clinical experience. People who restore their sleep begin to look 5 to 10 years younger. The bags under their eyes disappear. Their blood pressure falls. Even their temperament changes. They become calmer. And none of this begins with a tablet. It all begins with understanding that the bladder is not your enemy. It is simply a warning light. And now you know how to extinguish that light by removing the cause, rather than smashing the bulb. I know that changing habits is difficult. It is hard to resist evening tea in front of the television. It is hard to make yourself lie with your legs against the wall when all you want to do is fall face first into your pillow. But remember Anatoly, he was lazy too. What moved him was the fear of a heart attack and the desperate desire for a full night's sleep. Those two things outweighed his reluctance. Now he sleeps 7 hours, and he says it is the best thing that has happened to his health in many years. This method works without fail because it is rooted in physiology, not magic. But it does require discipline. It is not a tablet. Take it and forget it. It must be done every day. This evening, perform the lazy birch tree pose. Remove the salt shaker from your table, and I am confident that tomorrow morning will be kinder. Remember, your health is not a lottery. It is the result of small daily actions. Today you have learned the secret of the night watch. You have learned about gravity and hidden salt. You know now that the bladder is a signal lamp, and you know how to turn that lamp off by addressing the source. With warmth and respect, our Dr.Deepins. Take care of yourselves, listen to your body, and above all, sleep soundly.